welcome everyone to Coffee with a Codex. My name is Dot Porter, and I'm a curator here in the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies, which is a research and development unit in the Kislak Center for Special Collections, Rare Books, and Manuscripts at the University of Pennsylvania Libraries. Every Thursday at noon, I take a book off the shelf and we do a informal show and tell. If you've been here before, you're welcome back. It's always nice to see people returning. And you know, it is a very informal thing. So if you have a question or just something to say, feel free to type it in the chat. And I will keep my eye on the chat. Also, my colleague Amy Hutchins, who I have been chatting with, is here. She is our manuscripts cataloging librarian, incredibly knowledgeable person. Lots of really knowledgeable people actually here. So I love seeing conversation in the chat. And if this is your first time, you're very welcome to be here. I hope you have a good time. Today, we are looking at LJS 16. That is the shelf mark. It's in the Schoenberg collection, Lawrence J. Schoenberg, LJS. Larry collected books, and in the years before he passed away, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, he and his wife donated his collection to Penn. He is also the name behind the Schoenberg Institute for Manuscript Studies. So we are very thankful to Larry for lots of reasons. So this is LJS 16. It is a copy of a little piece of a work called the Speculum historiale, which was 1/3 of a larger work called the Speculum Maius. Speculum Maius is Latin, the greater mirror. Speculum historiale is the mirror of history. So this is a part of a history book. We only have books 25 through 28. I think there was something like 30. Let me see. I've got this opened up here. 31. So this book had 31 books. Rather, this text has 31 books in it. And this right here is, you can see it's very big. I am not incredibly small, and you can see it's pretty thick. So this is 25, what did I say? 25 through 28. So there's 4 books here. So I want you to imagine these are 4 books out of 31. And let's say they're all roughly the same size. This is a lot, right? This would have been big. And remember, this is only 1/3 of this full text. So we're talking about a lot of text. I think the Wikipedia page said it has something like 3 million words in it. Like this is a lot. And who wrote it and why? So I'm gonna go ahead and start sort of paging through, so you can start getting a sense of what this copy looks like. So it was written by Vincent of Beauvais in the 13th century, and he wanted to do a thing that seemed to be pretty popular with a certain type of person in this. Let me see if we can get that to focus. Are we focused? I will zoom in eventually. I had to zoom way out because it's so big and I wanted to get the whole thing in there. People at this time, sort of intellectuals, they loved making encyclopedias. They wanted to write everything. They wanted to say, here's how the world is, here's all the knowledge in the world. And this is what he was attempting to do with this. So I said this was 1/3 of it. So the other works in this is Speculum Naturale, which is the mirror of nature, and Speculum Doctrinale, the mirror of doctrine, and then Historiale. So he was looking at nature and doctrine and history. And in the printed editions, you start getting a 4th part. Actually, this must be in manuscripts too, but there was a 4th part, Speculum Morale, the mirror of morals. But that was written in the 14th century. So he didn't write that. That was sort of compiled by other people and was included as part of this So our manuscript is not a 13th century manuscript. Um, Ours was written in France around the year 1400. So a little bit later, so right on the cusp of the 15th century. Um, and it was written in France, maybe in Paris. And it has a lot, if you've been here before, a lot of things that I often point out when we are looking at manuscripts from a variety of places, written in many different languages and all sorts of things. So I'm zooming in so we can get, because I know there are some people who really like to have a close look at the script. So let's. This is as close. I could zoom in a little bit more, but I'd have to move the camera. So let me know if you need me to do that. Um, okay, so the layout is pretty typical for a lot of different genres of text. We have two columns. We have a header, so we kind of know where we are. Um, we have the book 25. So this is how we know we're in book 25 of the text. Here we're starting a new section, and so we have this lovely illuminated initial R. And if I move the page, you can see a little bit of the gold there, kind of blingy. And there's a lot of red and a lot of blue. Um, if we look down the page, we'll see that we have alternating red and blue initials, and the red initials have blue penwork, and the blue initials have red penwork. And this is, again, like incredibly typical for Western manuscripts of all sorts. Um, the script is a Gothic semi-cursive book script. So it is a little bit, so semi-cursive, it's sort of some of the letters connect together. There's going to be a lot of abbreviations here, so a lot of sort of lines over letters, showing that so instead of writing the whole word out, they do little abbreviations so you don't have to do quite so much writing. Um, you might notice that there are these little dots on the page here, these little dots. Those are holes, and they are from bookworms. So this has been noshed upon by little larval insects. They don't usually eat much parchment, so as we page through, you'll see fewer and fewer of them. But what this is telling me is that this used to be in a wooden binding, and probably there was some paper as well, and the bugs were eating the wood, and as they did that, they also ate the parchment until they realized they were in parchment and didn't want to eat that so much anymore. It's also, you probably noticed here, there's some damage, some water damage here in the first few leaves. There's another initial here, and there's some gold left here, but mostly you see this sort of pink, and that is the gold has come off. It was like maybe it was washed off from water or something, rubbed off. And the pink that you're seeing is the material that the gold was adhered to. Probably gesso was what they used to do that, which is slightly pink in color, and so that's why it looks slightly pink. Um, so the first couple of pages it's some kind of table of contents for book 25, and then we get the book itself, and that's why we get that here. So each of the entries have sort of short entries here. Again, we have the blue and red initials going back and forth. And I see that you all there's been some stuff in the chat. I'm just gonna see. John, Roman numbers. Yes. All right, great. So I think Amy has answered all of the chat questions. So I'm going to zoom out, and we'll page through to see a little bit more. Oh, one more thing I wanted to point out for those of you who are interested. And I'm going to zoom back in because I think this is interesting. All right, so Phillips manuscript. I've talked about him before, I think. Sir Thomas Phillips was an English book collector in the late 19th century. It's in the 19th century. And he collected a lot of books. I think at one point he had 60,000 manuscripts and even more printed books. So he collected a lot and he put his the number here. And I don't know if this is his handwriting or if he had the same a secretary or something, but it's always in the same handwriting. And we have many books. I mean, he collected so many books that like we have a bunch in our collection that have his signature and it's immediately recognizable. Not only because it says Phillips MS, but because it's always the same hand as far as I've seen. Um, and this is number 24654, which assuming he was going in numerical order, 24. This is his 24,654th book, which is pretty impressive. Uh, yeah, so I'm gonna make sure always look for a Phillips number. Okay, so that's the basics. Um, so we'll go through and let's see. So chapter or book, I'm sorry, book 25, which is what we're in. This is history, right? So this is Charlemagne to Otho. So this is sort of Carolingian history or the what did they call themselves? The Holy Roman emperors, right? Or German, or however you want to say. So this is their history that's coming through here. I will point out, because I know that there are some folks who are interested in this, that there is visible ruling here. So the ruling is how the parchment would be prepared uh, for writing. So there's a frame here that sort of frames out the page, and it comes all the way down and then across, and then you can see here other framing lines to show where the columns are, and then there is there are also lines that the scribe would use to write on. Some of them are faded. You can actually see them better over on this page here. Some of these are a little bit darker. But this is how the scribes were able to write in such precise and straight lines because they had this ruling to help them. And I think as we get further along, we'll be able to see what are called actually right here, prick marks, which were the guides that were used to actually to make the lines. So you can see here these little dots here, those are actually holes in the parchment. And that's how they drew the lines. You'd have a sheet and you draw from hole to hole to make the nice straight lines. Let's see. Here is a catchword. Catchwords are helpful. It's when you get to the end of a gathering, the catchword should match the word that comes at the top of the next gathering. And if it doesn't, it means there's something wrong. But I think this one does match. As far as I know, this whole book is pretty straightforward and correct. Here we go. All right, so we're Charlemagne and Otho. And if you have any questions or if as we go through, if there are things you want me to zoom in on, I don't have a whole lot of insight into the content of this aside from the basic ones. Although I know it was an incredibly popular text. The whole text was very popular, and especially the Speculum historiale was very popular. The number that I saw was there are between 250 and 300 manuscripts, and that includes both whole and partial, which is why I think the number is a little iffy because I think there are a lot more copies of the Speculum historiale than there are of the other parts of it. So Brian is asking why there isn't marginalia, and I haven't seen any marginalia here. That's a good question. I mean, the simple answer is that people didn't write in it. And the, you know, there are probably copies that exist that do have marginalia that people did. If you're thinking of like notes that other people were writing, um, then that's possible. Amy says maybe the owner never made it to book 25, which is possible. It's very long. And I think Claire asked if there were illustrated copies. I believe that there are copies that are illustrated. Because when I was doing a little research, I saw a photo of um, an illustration of the author write like as a scribe kind of writing, and so I think that that was there. I'm just going to pause here because I see something interesting that I'm going to make you look at with me, and that is over here. We have we're moving from uh, one bottle of ink to another bottle of ink. So we have this is sort of brownish, not quite so dark, and then here it suddenly gets darker again. So they got another bottle that was a little bit darker. And it looks like, I'm not sure because I think maybe they fixed something here. So there's that. And then there's a couple of words that are also the dark. This M just has one minim of that darker ink. So they took some time making the transition and then it's all the darker ink. Um, I just think that's fun to see the kind of working process as we're going through. And then it switches to a lighter ink again right here. So it's sort of fun. Um, let's see, 25 and then 28. The line fillers are also quite nice. Oh yeah, yes, the line fillers. So these little guys here, um, they there was definitely an aesthetic choice to not leave space where it felt like there shouldn't be space. So obviously there's a lot of space on these pages, right? There's very large margins. Um, and even the frames, there's a lot of space in the frames, which actually, to Brian's point about marginalia, that kind of implies to me that they might have expected people to come and write in the margins because in in a sense there's a sort of a framing there for text to be added later. It could also just be that they think that the lines look nice, so there's also that. Um, but oh god, what was my point? I got on a tangent and I was talking about the layout. I've totally forgotten where I was headed with that. Amy, do you have any idea where I was headed with that? uh, sorry. Oh, the line fillers. Yes, thank you. um, so but within the column, the writing columns, and this isn't just this manuscript, this is a thing that you see if you go looking for it. They wanted to have it full up. Um, so if the text doesn't fill out, so here is these lines fill it up, right? We get to the end of the word and we've got to the end and we're good here. Um, but here we've only got a few words at the start of the line, and then I'll zoom in so you can see that better. Sorry. Um, but then there's going to be space, and they don't want space. So they've got these line fillers, which are basically little decorations that are just to fill the line up. And as Amy pointed out in the chat, these are also red and blue. So we've got this theme of red and blue sort of going through the whole thing. And if you look for those, you'll see them everywhere. Also, I just noticed this. Another thing I love to see. There's a little hole here. I've got my finger behind it down here on the um, right thing. Um, this is where there was some kind of damage to the skin. So parchment, if you don't know, is made of animal skin, and it was stretched out on a frame that was part of the work. Um, and before, if there was little holes, sometimes the parchment maker would sew them up before they were stretched, and then you get these little almost scars, but you can see the needle holes, the needle marks where they had, where the thread went through. Um, Sometimes the thread remains, but that's pretty rare for that to happen. And sometimes they just left the holes, and then you have big holes in the parchment, which isn't as nice. But that's good. I always do the wrong button. There we go. All right. Let's skip ahead to 26 because I'm curious if there's going to be another initial for that. Okay, so here we are. This is 20. Here we go, 25. So we're ending 25, and then to 20. Now this is 26. So there's some transfer here from 25 to 26, and I think right. So we're seeing again what we saw at the beginning, which is this is some kind of table of contents where we have listings of here's each and a lot of the line fillers here, a ton of them. I'll zoom in so you can see them a little better. They're kind of pretty. I imagine it was a kind of brainless activity that was maybe kind of calming to do that. I bet that was nice. And then we have another large illuminated initial. These are also puzzle, kind of a puzzle initial, in that it's got sort of pieces that fit together, kind of like a puzzle. A little bit of the gold has been lost here, but it's mostly intact. So that's nice. And again, this pen work is really, oh no, I meant to go the other way. The pen work is quite nice there. Nice details in that. I'm just going to go back and check the chat again to see. Oh, let's see. Let's see, pen work. Some of the, Lynn says, some of the pen work stretches across the empty space to the vertical ruling, but not beyond it, as though this is part of the aesthetic. What makes the gold work so dimensional? Oh, Danielle. Hi, Danielle. So I think you mean that it's kind of rounded. The material that the gold is applied to is thick, and it's raised up above the page. So that's why it looks rounded like that, because it actually is three-dimensional. There's a little bit of a lump underneath. So ideally, that's how that is there. Oh, and here I was talking about threads. So this is not, oh, you can't see it. Hold on. So this page was damaged at some point. It looks like there's a scar here, but then if you can see, it's actually been sewn up. There's thread there. The thread goes all the way up here. So this is made after after it was written. This is a late thing, and I don't know when. I love that the thread is there though, and here's the back side of it, so we can see more of the thread here, and it looks like this has been mended in some other way. So somehow this got cut and they fixed it up, and that's pretty nice. And I just saw something on this page that I'm wondering what is going on. There's like some, where'd it go? Here we go. There's some pencil drawings here. Somebody drew some doodles in the margin, and then there's somebody's written a little bit of something up here. So there's no marginalia, but somebody doodled. So we've got that going on. Danielle asks, would thread be used for modern conservation as well? I don't think so. Not for things like parchment mending. I think, now I'm not a conservator, but from what I've seen, the material that tends to be used for things like parchment mending is Japanese rice paper. And it's used with a kind of glue that is water based. because modern conservation practice is that you have to be able to undo anything that you do. So they're now very careful about the kinds of materials that they use and being able to reverse them. So I think thread, if you had like a parchment um, cut, you would use something like rice paper and not thread. Although maybe if you had, if it was already threaded, and certainly with bindings, if you were doing something with the binding, you would use thread. Um, uh, oh, Christine, on the verso, there seem to be prefix line fillers in red. Okay, I think I've passed what you were talking about, but if we see it again, the page prior to the pencil doodles. All right, let's go back and see if we can find that. I got so into those pencil doodles. Here we go. Is this the page? Oh, do you mean, are you looking here? Which page are you? Or maybe the page, maybe you're talking about this page. Nope, I'm seeing the red text here. Yeah, and the table of contents, so these have red. Let me zoom in again so you can see this better. Zoom in. Right. So all of the red here are, these are the numbers, the Roman numerals, indicating the number of the, I think these are chapters. So the numbers of the chapters. And here are the just rubrics introducing each of the sections. So I didn't really point this out, but like this is it's an encyclopedia. So it's like one entry after another. And these are the entries. So we have the rubric of the entry, and then we have the entry itself. And the same over here, the rubric. Rubric from is related to the Latin word for red, because they tended to be written in red. And now that I'm up close, we can see that there's also some red for crossing out. So someone has come through and crossed out some text here and here. And I bet as we keep going, we'll see more and more of that. Brian asks, why does this particular manuscript have line fillers? Because it was the aesthetic of the time. And you see them, it was just a thing. Like I've seen line fillers in philosophy manuscripts, in medical manuscripts, more like medical, like nice ones, not necessarily like books for practicing doctors, but like study books. Books of hours often have them. Yeah. And Amy points out it's because we have short section titles. So the reason that they're being used at all is because there's space, because some of the text is just, the section titles are short, and so that's why we're putting them in here. So I think we're less likely to see them in other places. There. Okay, so this is 26. Oh no, it's 12:30, guys. Okay, this is a huge book. We're only on page 52 or folio 52. I'm so sorry. Well, let's go really quick. Just before, I want to see if we can find maybe one more puzzle initial. Wow, book 26 is long. All right, let's keep going. 27. Okay, 27. Oh, I'm glad we did this because look at this. So 27, we've got the end of this table of contents, and then we've got regular text, and there is a stub here because somebody cut this leaf out. So it is gone. So, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I hate it, but also it probably had a beautiful initial, and people like beautiful initials. They like to cut them out of books and hang them on the wall. And so I'm guessing that that's what happened here. They cut it out and hang it on the wall. In fact, one more thing. No, Brian, I'm not going to do 30 minutes more, but I will take the time to show you that along with this book in the box, we have some other leaves that were taken from the same original book. So this is from 29. So this is book 29. So this is a little bit later. And then, oh, I hope you can hear me. I just put this on the microphone. There's a whole set of bifolios from book 30. So this has actually four leaves or 2 sheets. I love this because you can see this is the sheet of parchment that makes up the book. That it's hard to see when they're bound together. But we have these 2. And I know that there's another leaf from this book that's in another library. Like this is a book that we know that was parts of it were disbound. So we're pretty lucky to have like the whole thing here. Okay. Thank you so much for sticking with me through all of this. It's been digitized. So if you want to see more of it, I implore you to go to the record, read all about it, see all the pictures. It's really beautiful. Thanks so much. Have a great week, and I hope I'll see you again next week. So take care.